This is the North Jersey Blues Society talking to Chicago-based soul blues belter Derrick Procell. And Derrick has a brand new album called Hello Mojo, and it's his label debut from Cat Food Records. And we're very happy to have Derrick here with us today to talk about Hello Mojo and his fascinating career. Because it really has been an amazing ride for you, everything that I've read. So it's pretty incredible to get to where you are today.
Well, I don't know about fascinating, but it is. It has been an interesting career for sure. I'm not a youngster anymore, so the fact that I've come out with this record that has been so incredibly well received um, in a community that probably really doesn't know my name.
No, but the reviews have been phenomenal, and the fan support has been unbelievable. And I've been watching videos and some of your work on YouTube and Facebook, and I've been getting feedback from people, that we did the review of Hello Mojo, and people that didn't know you suddenly are into your music now and going back and checking you out from things you did before. So it's,
Oh,
it's great. It's really good
yeah,
because
that's
this
very
record
good.
is bursting at the seams all over the place. Everybody's getting, taste of it, and they're loving it. So before we talk about Hello Mojo on Cat Food Records, I just wanted to go back and talk about some of the things you've done over your career. And then I was really interested in 2018, you and your partner, Terry Abramson, your long-time writing partner, Terry. He's known for his work with Muddy Waters. He wrote a song for Shamika Copeland's America's Child release. I think it's called In the Blood of the Blues.
Yep,
And
yep.
so how did that open doors for you working with Mika? Because I know Shamika since she was a teenager, and she's incredible. So how did that open doors for you? How'd that come about?
Well, it came about. It really didn't get directly to Shamika from either one of us. Neither one of us really knows Shamika that well, but Linda Kane, who runs Chicago Blues Guide, which is an online resource for all things blues anywhere in and around the Chicago area. Um, you know, Concerts and club dates and record reviews and stuff like that. Um, she was, one of the people who got this song to Bruce Iglauer at Alligator Records. We had also, Terry and I had been submitting some songs to Bruce um, for a couple of other artists, and I think sort of the two or three pronged approach to Bruce with this particular song. As soon as we wrote it, Terry and I both knew that this was perfect for Shamika. She was starting to go in the direction of songs that had a little more socio-political um, consciousness to them, and we just
Yeah,
we
that's even
felt
true with the new release too. So yeah,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Well, she's
yeah,
really been digging in hard
digging deep
on
into
that for
that.
the last three records. But yeah, we were really proud that you know she just latched onto the song. It got singled out in quite a few reviews for that record, America's Child, as being a really strong song. And the album went on to win BMA Album of the Year.
Yeah,
So we
exactly.
felt we felt pretty cool about that. As far as opening doors for us, um, not so much really. I mean, we have an interesting profile here in the Chicago area. I don't think it's taken us much further outside of that. I mean, we've gotten a couple of new releases. We've got a song, another political social commentary song coming out on the new Cashbox Kings record on Alligator as well,
Wow.
because we have a relationship with those guys. So
Yeah, that was my next question. How do you like working with Alligator and with Bruce? How's your relationship with them? I've known Bruce a long time. That's why, you know,
well,
he's a
we
great guy. I mean, if you look at the way Alligator came about, I mean, he was basically running Alligator out of a room, one room, and then it's lasted decades as the premier, one of the premier blues labels, and it's
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I read his book a couple years back. Uh, Interesting career, man. I mean, when you say fascinating career, that guy's had a fascinating career for sure.
how do you like working with Alligator?
Um, like I said, we have had um, opportunities to pitch songs. Um, you know, Bruce reached out to us for some songs for Coco Montoya record um, a few years back. Um, I don't remember what the reason was. I think none of the stuff that we came up with was right for that record, but it got Terry and I to write some really nice tunes
Yeah, yeah.
uh, that will see the light of day either on my next record or, in fact, one of them has a lot of interest from my producer for Hello Mojo, Zach Harmon. He will probably end up doing one of those songs on his next record.
And you have something coming out on the Cashbox Kings record?
Yeah, we wrote a song. Terry and I wrote a song called "Nobody Called It the Blues," and it's a very deep statement about white supremacy and the rise of the blues in response to white supremacy. It's it's not subtle, um, but we got together with Oscar Wilson and Joe, uh, and they did some writing contribution to our effort, and it's going to be on their next record.
Oh, that's great.
I
Congratulations.
believe it's coming out soon.
That's good. I'll have to check the Alligator site to check on that. Reach out to Bruce for that. I have a question. In 2020, in the early days of the pandemic, James Armstrong got your name from Chicago harmonica legend Billy Branch. And I was just wondering how that came about. Were you performing in Chicago at the time on the circuit? Because James reached out to Billy to find you. So how did James know you, and did you know him? Because he was looking for you to do a project with Annika Chambers.
Yeah, well, James did not really know me. Interestingly, he was, he's a label mate now on Cat Food Records. Uh, Billy knew me from, well, actually, from studio work. Um, he did a guest shot on my last record, Why I Choose to Sing the Blues, which I put out in 2016, I think it was. I don't know. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, not so much from playing. I'm really not a regular on the Chicago playing circuit. I mean, I do a variety of live work. I do some solo work. I do some duo work. I do what we call in the Chicago area lovingly as jobbing work. Weddings, parties, private, kind of corporate things. The stuff that pays well.
Yeah. Stuff that
Yeah,
pays money.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Club, let's you know as well as I do. Club dates don't pay well.
Oh, I know that. All my friends are musicians, and they're out there trying to do this and that. I know. Believe me, I know. I don't know.
So anyway, Billy did a guest shot on my record, and we did a little tit for tat as musicians are wont to do. Um, and then yeah, James I think was looking for a song, a singer for a song that Bob Trenchard had written. Another socio-political statement, with the advent of the 2020 elections, and Billy recommended me, and because it was during the pandemic, we did it all by file transfer. Like I didn't really meet James face to face. You know, I cut some vocal in my studio, which I thought was going to be a solo vocal, and it ended up being a duet with Anika Chambers. Um, that led to yet another call from James, because at this point now Bob Trenchard is kind of digging what I'm doing, and he had another yet political song in the wake of the George Floyd tragedy, and um, he had reworked a song of his that he had written called Lone Star Justice and had rewritten it as Black Man's Justice.
Right.
And this time I actually got to meet James because it was still during COVID, but we cut it at a Chicago studio. Um, the actually I met what was to be my guitar player for my record, Johnny McGee, the fabulous Johnny McGee, had flown in from Minnesota for that session. Um, and everybody's wearing masks and didn't really
Oh, I remember. Please. Yeah.
didn't really socialize too
Yeah.
much during the session. But yeah, and then those were put out as digital singles on Cat Food. And then, man, like almost a whole year later, I get a phone call out of the blue from Bob Trenchard saying, "Hey, you want to do a record on my label?" Literally, just like that.
Yeah, because at the time I was part of the Can't Stop the Blues folks, and we had her on. We had Annika Chambers on the show, and then the two songs came out, and everybody was just blown away by that. And it got so much play on Facebook and YouTube. The both of the songs, they were just incredibly, timely. Socially, politically timely, stating statements that had to be done. And we had her on the show, and it was, yeah, I remember those songs very well. They're fascinating. It really was. That was incredible music. I mean, the lyrics, the music, that was just, we were blown away by it. It got, believe me, it got shared a lot. Yeah.
Well, interestingly, she on that second song, I still didn't get to work with her in person because she was not at that session in Chicago. She was, she added her tracks digitally, later on. So we've sung two duets together and still haven't been in the same place at the same time yet.
You still haven't met her yet?
No, have not. Well, I met her, we chatted briefly at the BMX this year.
You will. Because everybody's out now. Everybody's out and about doing their thing. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. All right, during the 90s, you provided vocals and voiceovers for scores of advertising campaigns, including McDonald's, Chevy, Ford, Coca-Cola, and Kellogg's. I'd like to know, how'd you get into voiceover work, and did you enjoy it? I mean, that's what I said. Your career is amazing because you're doing voiceover work for commercials.
So, okay, we got to go back to the early 80s. So we get a little background here. So in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, I was part of a band out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin called Arroyo, believe it or not. Arroyo, which people in the Midwest had no idea what that word was. Anyone in the Southwest, of course, knows what an arroyo is, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we started out as sort of a country rock band and eventually morphed into this crazy amalgam of, original stuff that was blues based and had a little country. We were kind of Americana before there was a term Americana music. We flirted with some national, interest. Never quite made it up to the next level of whatever. Put out a pretty critically acclaimed record at the time. In the days before CDs, it was on vinyl.
Vinyl.
It's a collector's item now. So when that band broke up, I was kind of at a crossroads. I was like, well, start another band. I can, I wasn't quite sure. I was writing. That was sort of the beginning of my creative period, and out of the blue, these things happen to me out of the blue, John. I'm telling you, man. I mean, the universe takes good care of me, man.
They do, because everything, like you may not think of it what I told you in the beginning was that you had an amazing career, fascinating career. You may not think of it like that, but when you read the things that you've done from point A to where we are now, I found it really incredible and interesting. That's why I wanted to talk to you, because it really is
Thank you.
amazing the things that the steps you've taken during your musical journey here.
So
Including
I get a
voiceover.
call from a guy who actually had been an engineer on this Arroyo album, and now he's working as an engineer at a commercial studio, and we run into each other at a health club of all places, and he says, "Hey, we're working on this Wheaties thing, man." He says, "I think you'd be a great voice for it," and I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay, what the hell?"
Okay. Yeah.
you know so I show up, I do this thing. The creative guy, the guy who wrote the commercial, is like falling down on the floor. He goes, "Where'd you get this guy?" That now I'm getting calls to start singing on jingles. And at the local level, I do that for a couple of years, and I'm starting to do some other musical creative things, some bands and stuff. And after a couple of years, I've got enough stuff, and I send it down to Chicago. So I'm only 90 miles away, and that opened it up for me. you know I mean, I literally sent my reel down there, a little reel to reel.
Yeah. Yes, I remember reel to reels too. Yeah.
reel
Yeah.
my reel to reel demo, and I sent it around to, I don't know, back in that day, there were, a good 30, 40 really kind of big jingle houses in Chicago. And it didn't take long before the first guy gave me a call, and I did a Michelob spot, and all of a sudden, I'm the guy, because I had that beer voice, that
That
was
was my
really.
next question. What does that mean to be the beer voice guy? That's what, when I read that, I said, I have to ask you what that is, the beer voice guy. Would you do all the beer commercials?
Well, I did most of them. Is that what was in vogue at the time was that really hairy, David Clayton Thomas. And actually, David Clayton Thomas made quite a bundle of money singing commercials, a lot of beer stuff. But that really edgy, bring out your best Michelob Light,
Yeah, those. Yes.
you
Yeah.
know,
That's it.
Springsteeny kind, that whole thing. So all of a sudden, man, I find myself as a first call singer for a few of the big jingle houses. And you know it's like everything else. It's like acting. You get typecast, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'd put out these demos that had me doing all these other things, showing off my versatility and blah blah blah. And didn't want to hear about it, man. They want the beer voice guy. you
The
know
beer voice guy. Yeah. We just want the beer voice guy. No, I have to ask you about that because I was laughing when I read that. I said, I have to ask Derek about the beer voice guy. Yeah.
it's true,
That's
man.
good. Then you wrote, performed, and produced music for TV and movies, the American Cancer Society, Children's Heart Foundation, and Music from the Heart. So what is the key to being a successful songwriter? Do you have a process for that? I mean, you're writing TV, writing for TV and movies?
Well, I'd love to tell you that I have um, a method or a system or whatever, but it's different all the time. I can start out with with the title for something, you know, tagline or whatever, and kind of work backwards from that.
Right.
Sometimes it's just a little musical motif that keeps going around my head. You could ask my wife. I walk around the house and I'm. She knows to leave me alone then, because something's spinning around. Um, but when I hooked up with Terry, Terry and I go back even way before we started writing songs together. He was sort of this wacky independent freelance producer around Chicago. Um, and I ended up singing a lot of little projects that he was working on, mostly like industrial film things for like people like Snap-on Tools and
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, I know what those.
And I was just the right guy for those projects, and he remembered me as having a great voice. and it knew, I think from conversations, that I also played piano and wrote songs. And so, 10 years or so ago, after the jingle biz just, sort of petered out here in Chicago, and I had at that time successfully kind of transitioned into doing voiceover work, still getting an occasional singing call, but, doing more VO work. And Terry calls me up one day and says, "Hey man, I got these lyrics, you write songs, right?" I said, "Yeah, I can write a song."
Yeah,
So
you can write a song.
he sends me these lyrics. He goes, you want to take a whack at this?" And the first set of lyrics that he sends me were for something called "I Will Be Your Leather." And
Be your
I know,
leather.
right?
Yeah.
But I'm looking, the title is a little bit misleading. It's actually a very spiritual song, about, being there for somebody. "I
Yeah.
will be your leather. I will protect you. I will be there when you need me." And so I sat at the piano, and, he literally, like, in 15 minutes, we knocked this thing out in sort of a classic rock, Bob Segery kind of thing. And we demoed it up, and within, I don't know, a month or so, we got an offer from Allstate to license the song for like some motorcycle, uh, you know, videos, industrial videos. Unfortunately, their pockets weren't quite deep enough, so we passed on the offer. But the fact that we got offered money, for something, for the very first thing we wrote, we kind of
Yeah.
knew we were onto something. So
Is that song out there? Can people hear that song? Is it out there somewhere?
I think, yeah, you can find it. I've actually reworked it because it didn't, the style of it just didn't feel right to me anymore. Um, and we reworked it a few years ago, for the BMAs, and I had Diuna Greenleaf sing it, and I sort of reimagined it as a little more of a gospel feel.
Yeah,
And
she's amazing.
yeah,
We saw her a few years ago here in New Jersey at a mini blues festival, and she was just unbelievable. Yeah.
yeah, she's a powerhouse, right? She's
Oh yeah,
just
she's
amazing.
incredible. She
So
played with Bob Margolin and with Bob Lanza and a few other people. Bob Corritor was there, and there was a bunch of other people there. It was mind blowing. Yeah, yeah,
so I took you know, that feel, and I was like, wow, I love the way she interpreted it, and the way I kind of revamped it musically. And so now I'm doing it that way. There's not a version of that out yet, um, but there will be.
yeah. No, I'd like to hear it. I'd like to hear the before and the after. I like to see the yeah. It's very cool.
I'll send you both.
Yeah, send me both. I like to hear the difference. It's very cool.
Yeah.
So in 20, let's see, in 2010, I mean in 2020 you met. Well, is that true? In 2020 you met Bob Trenchard from Cat Food, because then the
No,
first solo record was "Why I Choose to Sing the Blues," and that led into the new one, "Hello Mojo." But then Bob flies up to Chicago from El Paso, Texas, right, to meet with you. And then you spent the weekend together writing songs and going over songs for that weekend.
yeah, that was in November of 21. November of 21.
That must
Uh,
have been a heck of a weekend.
yeah, we got a lot done. We got a lot done. I had, he had some song ideas, he had some lyrics, he had a couple things that had, a little bit of a musical base to them. And then I had a whole bunch of songs that I threw at him. We just kind of threw a bunch of stuff up against the wall and see what stuck. And we ended up with, I think we ended up with like 15 tunes that were possibles for the record. Um, and then I started doing pre-production meetings by phone with Zach, who I still hadn't met to this point. And by the time we got in the studio, I think we had already ejected 2 of those songs, that we just didn't
Yeah.
feel were going to work, or they weren't right for whatever reason. And then a couple of them ended up on the editing, on the cutting room floor, so to speak, by the time we cut the stuff back in early February this year. So I flew down to El Paso in February. I think it was like mid February, which is nice to get out of Chicago in mid February.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, get down, get out of the snow and into some sun. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's
And
nice.
yeah, and we went to this way cool studio about 50 miles east of El Paso, literally in the middle of nowhere, called Sonic Ranch. And it's an actual working ranch. It used to be a horse ranch back at the the turn of the 20th century. So it's an old hacienda, and it was a horse ranch. Now it's a working pecan ranch, but they turned the main house, the main hacienda, into um, living quarters for for musicians that are working on projects there. So
Right.
it's like a residential studio, and then a few of the outbuildings they turned into studios. I believe they have 3 or 4 working studios there.
That's amazing.
And
Is that all part of Cat Food Records? Or is that?
no, but it's where Cat Food has done probably their last 10, 15 projects.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So yeah, and because it's in the middle of nowhere, there's no distractions, man. You're there to work, like I barely had a cell phone signal, so there's no,
It was
nothing.
put there for a reason, so there are no distractions whatsoever. Yeah,
Absolutely.
no man's land.
So it was great. We had one day of like little run through with the musicians. Bob likes to use the same folks. He's got his house band, the Rays, and they're all great players. Bob's on bass, Dan Ferguson, a great keyboard player, Johnny McGee on guitar, and Richie Puga on drums. And we cut 12 tracks, and like I said, 10 of them made the record. We got all the bed tracks done. We got a lot of the vocals done. We got some overdubs done, and most of the background vocals in a week.
Wow,
It was pretty intense.
it must have been.
And I came
Yeah.
back there a month later to do the horns, to kind of supervise the horn session, and that was an intense day too. Because we had the Rays horn section, all a bunch of great players, great readers.
They are great players. They're on a bunch of records, and they're amazing players. They really are. It's a phenomenal band unto themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I left, and then Zach. We did a couple more cleanup things here. I'm in my, I don't know if you can see, I'm in my little home demo studio.
Yeah, I can see it.
It's
Yeah.
a little one room thing, a little Pro Tools rig. But I can do a lot of stuff here. There were a couple of songs that we didn't get to in Texas to do the lead vocals, so I cut those here. Added some additional background vocals. My wife, who was going to come down to Texas, but then for various reasons didn't make the trip. So, but she still made the record anyway, because I could add her here.
Yeah, you can do it in your studio at home. Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course.
and and then the whole thing got turned over to the amazing Jim Gaines to mix the record. And I'm reading Jim's book right now, Jim Gaines, 30 Years Behind the Glass. And when you talk about fascinating careers,
I'll have to read that, because I know Jim for a long. I've seen Jim's name on projects for, oh God, forever.
yeah.
That's one extraordinary person right there. Was Jim supposed to produce Hello Mojo, but then Zach Harmon, he jumped in, right?
Well, because of Jim's advanced age and because COVID was still going on, he really didn't want to travel to Texas
Yeah.
to do the record, so he handed it over to Zach.
Did you know Zach before this, or you hadn't
No,
met
and
him?
that's what's kind of funny, you know. I mean, he didn't know me, I didn't know him. I mean, I knew his name, but I wasn't that familiar with him. And you know, we just started talking over the phone, and we grew instantly, you know, very close. You know, we sparked, you know.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of great ideas about some of the song you know, edits and things like that, you know, song form and shoring things up and making some of the transitions work better. And it was great having him in that producer's chair, man. I mean, you know, and
Zach's an incredible player on his own. And then,
yeah, oh
yeah,
yeah.
I didn't realize he did as much production work as he does. I just know him as a player. I've been following his career for quite a while. I just know him as a player. We had him on Can't Stop the Blues as well, but I didn't know the production end of it. You know, I really did not know that until I dug deeper into it.
Oh
So
yeah. He cut his teeth out in LA. You know, he moved out to Los Angeles like in the 80s and you know, did incredibly well. Produced a lot of, you know, R&B hits and stuff and you know, before he wanted to pursue his real passion, which is doing what he's doing now, you
yeah.
know, playing. And so yeah, in the blues world, he's not really known as a producer, but uh hopefully Hello Mojo will help raise his you know, elevate his status as a
No, it has. Because I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know that part of him. Like I had known for years as a player, a phenomenal player. I knew as a songwriter, as a player. I didn't know the production end of it. So when Hello Mojo came, you know, and I'm looking at Zach Harmon and I dug deeper into that, I was like, wow, I was really impressed because he's producing and I didn't know all the work that he had done before. You know.
What's
So it
interesting,
opens the doors for me because I didn't realize that. I dug into it to check it out.
well, what's interesting is, you know, as great of a player as he is, he only really has a few moments to shine on the record because my songs really aren't guitar driven. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of artists out there that's their thing. You know, they write songs that they can kind of drape around a big long, you know, guitar solo. And because I don't play guitar,
No,
uh,
I know what you're saying. I have plenty of that here.
I'm a
Yeah,
keyboard guy. So, you
yeah.
know, and what's funny is, you know, I got to turn the keyboard duties over to an amazing player, man. I mean, I'm the first guy to defer to somebody else, you know, who can do it better than me. Um, but I did play on one song. I played on the title track on Hello Mojo.
Yes, you did.
Well,
Dan
because
Ferguson plays keys. Right?
Dan's an amazing player, but you know, he just what whatever he was doing was not quite what I was hearing, right? So I'd go
Yeah.
out and say, "Hey, man, you know, can you do a little more like this kind of thing? You know, blah blah blah." And you know, I think the second time I went out there's, you know, Zach gets on the talk back and goes, "Derrick, why don't you sit your ass down and you play that? You play this." Dan Dan's like, "Be my guest, man." So I was like, "Okay."
You got incredible people on this record. You had Dan, you got Sue Carwell. You got some amazing, and you got the Rays. You have some incredible people on this album.
Oh yeah. Well, and Zach, because of his production days in Los Angeles, was good friends with this cat, Munyungo Jackson, percussionist. And Munyungo's got a resume as long as your arm, man. I mean, he toured the world with Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, about him. Yeah,
Yeah, so you know, I did not get to meet. Though once again, all of that stuff was done remotely. You know, Munyungo cut all the percussion at his place in LA, and you know, then we just sprinkled them in. You know, I mean, as you've heard, you know, Hello Mojo is chock full of great percussion, man. He's got the talking drum in there, you know, the African talking drum and all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, the production's very, very cool. I enjoyed that. Every time I play it, there's more that comes out as you play it, and it just evolves. It's just amazing. The music, just the whole production of it, just you can't just play it once, because the more you play it, the more things you find as you play it. It really is. It's great. It's really
Oh,
great.
thank you
Yeah.
for saying that, man. You know,
I could
that's
see a
one.
lot. You put a lot of heart and soul into it because there's a lot of track by track by track. There's a lot of music there, and there's a lot of time and effort went into it. And as you play it, you can tell and you get the feeling from the players themselves that it was a joy to make it. I'm sure wasn't easy under the circumstances, but you get the feeling that everybody had a good time putting it together. You know,
Oh, that's a fact. That's a
yeah,
fact, man. I mean, what a joy it was for me to have these guys dig into the songs the way they did, and you know, literally, you know, big smiles on their faces. You know, we got done. I think one of the first songs we tracked was "Tall Glass of You," and I mean, these guys are jumping up and down, going, "There's your hit. There's your hit right there, man. There's." You know,
oh yeah.
guys, we got 9 more songs to do.
Let's say we're done.
Wow.
Good night. Yeah. How'd
No,
you get
you
to
know,
how'd you,
you,
how'd you get to do the Kinks song?
oh,
How'd you,
that's
well,
that's
that's why like who'll be the next in line? Like I'm listening like it's the Kinks song. I was like, wow, he's doing a Kinks song. You know?
Yeah, well, as you may have noted, it's a little different than than the
Oh yeah.
original.
I mean, yeah, it's much different than the original, but I was just impressed that you pulled the Kinks song out of the air and you decided to do Ray and Dave Davies tune. I was like, wow, it's got killer horn section. Johnny McGee on guitar, the amazing Johnny McGee on guitar. I mean, it's a totally reworking of the song, but I was just impressed that he did a Kinks song. Yeah.
Well, when Bob and I, you know, we had our long industrious weekend here last November. You know, he said we should put a cover song on here, and he threw out a couple of song ideas that they were okay, but I said, I think one of them was like, yeah, it's already been covered, a time or two, and you'd sound great on this, and I'm like, yeah, I said, I've had this idea for a long time about this tune, um, a because I love the chord changes, and and I love it lyrically. I love the chord changes, and I wanted to try and keep those elements of the song and just do something different with it. And I just sat at the piano and just kind of I said, what about something like this? And you know, honestly, it was inspired by the way Donald Fagen uh, did his treatment of Ruby Baby
Yeah.
on Nightfly. You know, it's got a little bit of that kind of sassy, kind of cool blues jazzy thing going on. And as soon as I started playing it, and we had brought in a guitar player buddy of mine to augment some of the demos that we were doing for these songs that we were coming up with, and he started kind of riffing over it, and Bob kind of lit up and he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I like this. And then I just kind of ran with it. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am with the way it turned out. The way Jim Gaines mixed that song where the horns sit. I mean, it's astonishing to me.
It is. It's an amazing track. I mean, that album itself, Hello Mojo, is great beyond measure as it is. But then I'm listening to it going, wait a minute, because I know the song. I know the Kinks song. And then the way you did it was just remarkable. The way you put it together was just a total reinterpretation of the song. I'm sure Ray and Dave, if they haven't heard it, they should, because you know,
I'm waiting to hear from Brother Ray Davies.
I mean, here in New Jersey, Dave Davies lives in Englewood, New Jersey, and his brother Ray is over in England. So, and
Yeah.
the two of them, we don't know what the circumstances are with the two of them these days, but I would really like to know what they think of that song. I really would. I,
Yeah, me too. Me too, man.
yeah, I'm sure.
But you know,
But yeah,
you hit on something, John. The fact that and a couple of people have said this to me. You know, it's not it's a record that you put on, you listen to, and then you want to hear it again because you want to hear. You know, you start hearing more with each listen. You
that's what I
know,
said. Yeah.
which is that I remember that feeling. Putting certain records on. When I was younger and having that same feeling, like the way it hits you, that initial hit, and then you just want to hear it again to hear what else is there,
Yeah.
and I can't tell you how many records that happened with, and I haven't had that experience much lately.
No, I've got plenty of music here. I can tell you. I've been doing CD reviews since my surgery, my knee surgery in July, and there's tons of music here. And I drive Christy and the North Jersey Blues Society crazy with the CD reviews, and many of them are wonderful, and I play them. But there's other ones like Hello Mojo, and I just got the one the other day from the Mighty Soul Drivers. Those CDs, those albums, you just want to play them over and over again. Repeated listenings bring you more music that you didn't hear before. It's just as you listen to it, it just becomes another experience. It's
Yeah,
amazing. The
and
more you
this
play it, the more things you discover through the music that you didn't know was there before. It's repeated listening. It's great. So,
well, and the fact that over whatever now, 20 weeks it's been out. It's been sitting really, really high up on the soul blues chart on Roots Radio Report, Roots Music Report, which is, I think, a testimony to the fact that there's something on the record for everybody.
there is. Yeah.
Everybody, like every song, all 10 songs have gotten some substantial airplay, which is I don't know how normal that is. Like
Because it's not a blues, it's you can't categorize it simply as a blues music CD because there's so much other music there. It's just it defies the categorization of a blues CD, and that's what people are grabbing onto because there's so much to offer on the CD itself. There's so many different styles, so many different tracks, so many different types of music there. I mean, it's you guys worked hard at doing this, putting it together. You can tell, and you weren't content to do just this type of music or that type of music. You guys were in the studio, I'm sure, trying different things, and it shows up on Hello Mojo. You know, and that's a testament to you and a testament to everybody involved in it. You can't
well,
categorize it as one thing. So that's
well,
what people are hearing as they listen to it. They're grabbing onto different songs because it means different things to different people. You know.
yeah, that's the part that really makes me feel great. I got to tell you, John, because I was a little bit worried, honestly, when I heard the whole thing as a whole. I mean, to my ear, yeah, as a listener, I love a little more diversity, in a record. That's why I love bands like The Band or Little Feat. It's not just it's a much wider palette.
Yeah.
And I was concerned a little bit when we did it that it be might be too wide. You know what I mean for
Yeah. Too
some,
wide a range. Yeah.
but apparently it wasn't.
No, it's not because it's people. You don't have to be a blues person to enjoy this. There's so much more to offer on Hello Mojo than that. And that's what I'm getting from people that are listening to it and telling me. Because I'm listening to it, I've been in my car and I listen to it when I'm driving around. And it's constantly, it's one of those releases that I'm always playing because there's so much to listen to all the time. I track by track by track. And then it's you should be very proud of that. You should be very proud of that it means so much to so many different people out there.
I am, believe me.
Whatever happened to the movie The Contender? You wrote a track for that? You wrote a bluesy rock track for a movie called The Contender?
Well, it's not for a movie. I think it should be in a movie.
Oh, it should be in a movie. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, Bob, that's actually before Bob came up here to work on stuff. He had sent me those lyrics, and he said, "Okay, I've had these lyrics for like a really long time. I've tried to put some music to them. I've had a couple different people try to put music to them, you know, and they I think people were trying to put more bluesy music. I mean, like kind of straight up blues changes to those lyrics." And he goes, and it just it wasn't like a blues shuffle or whatever, he he goes, I just haven't had the right thing for it yet.
Yeah.
And I said, well, let me see what I can do with it, and once again, it was one of those times, man, where I just started this little riff on the piano, the little minor keyed thing. Da, 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 da. And it was definitely more rock oriented, but I just kept going with it and thought, well, screw it. I'm just going to keep going and see
Just
where
keep
this
on going.
goes.
Yeah. See where you wind up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like don't try to edit while the creative process is happening. And I did a little demo of it. There a couple changes from my original demo of it, but I sent it off to Bob and I said, so, I was kind of anticipating like, I don't know about it, and he was like, holy shit, this is great. This is great. Yeah. This is exactly what the song needs. So, so we kind of just played on that, and made it even more, dare I say it's my version of the Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
listen, if you're gonna get inspired by something, get inspired by a multi-million selling song.
There you go.
You
That's
know,
the way to go with it. What better way to go?
right?
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
So, my hats off to Jim Peterick. I've actually worked for Jim Peterick with who wrote Eye of the Tiger. And I know that song, it basically bought him his house and his car and many guitars. So
Yes.
I could do that band, with the Contender.
You could do worse. You
Yeah.
could really. Why not? Go for it. Yeah.
So I just keep saying the next great boxing movie. We got the song for
We
it.
got the song for it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we just like I said earlier, we just had our final run through dress rehearsal last night for the show I'm doing on Friday, and the Contender, man, it's a gas. Now I jacked it up live because it kind of vamps out, and
Yeah.
on the record Zach's playing some incendiary guitar.
Oh my God. I can imagine.
My guitarist is ripping, and at a previous rehearsal, just on a whim, I picked up my harp and started blowing over those changes, man. And all of a sudden, it became a whole different tune, man.
Wow.
Like really cool. And now last night, the guitarist and I were getting into this. We're trading riffs, and it just keeps building to this great intensity, man. Really cool.
So what's coming up for you in 2023? Are you going to go out on tour? Because we're hoping we find you out here in New Jersey sometime. So we hope to get to see you.
Well,
And you're going out. What's coming up in the new year?
We've got some shows booked around here. I don't know about touring until I've got I gotta find some booking besides myself. I know that booking is a lot of venues would rather deal with a booking agent than the artist directly. I keep adding stuff to my site. I've got a nice EPK up on my site now. It would just be helpful to do that. I don't know what the touring situation looks like for me yet, so
Yeah.
it's a little early to say. I enjoy playing, man.
No, we're going to get more recordings from you soon. I hope so.
Absolutely.
I hope so.
we'll see what 2023 brings.
No, because Hello Mojo just blew my mind, and then I can't wait for more. I just can't wait to, and I want to see you live. I'm eagerly looking forward to that sometime in the future.
Well,
And I couldn't wait to talk to you today because I just find you fascinating, and I think your music is amazing.
oh,
So
thank you, man. Well, I'd love to come out that way. Uh, when it makes sense, touring these days, especially, post COVID, man. I mean, a lot of venues, couldn't survive it. Uh, and I have to do what's right in terms of financially and physically, I mean,
right,
I'm getting to
I
be kind of
understand.
a geezer these days, so touring, I, I ain't packing up the van and sleeping on people's couches. You know what I mean?
No, I know it's not that easy. And a lot of venues that didn't make it through the COVID, and we seem to be having in 2023. It looks like a lot of people are coming into New Jersey because they don't seem. I mean, a lot of places seem to have closed, and a lot of people are coming to the East Coast. It seems like I'm getting inquiries from people. Like the venues have shrunk since COVID, and people are trying to get out and play, but the venues themselves aren't there. So it's
Yeah,
gonna be. I'm glad everybody wants to come to the here, but it's tough to find gigs and find places to play those gigs, and make it financially feasible to do that. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. So, you know, the pieces will fall into place. Like I said a little earlier, I've been unbelievably fortunate, blessed, whatever you want to call it, man. The universe has always found a way to just throw some nice stuff at my way. So, who who knows, man? 2023 might be the year that
yeah, I know. Yeah, I couldn't wait to talk to you. 'Cause you just had an amazing career. I told Christy, I said we have to talk to you because things that you've done and the work that you've done has just been everywhere. And people may not know you now, but they certainly know Hello Mojo. And through Hello Mojo, they've gotten to know you and Zach Harmon and so many other musicians. So it's a credit to everybody that worked on this project that the doors have suddenly sprung open and they're not getting shut anytime soon.
no, they're not. There will be another record. Maybe on cat food. I don't know. If we'll see, we'll
Yeah.
see. I've got a I got a ton of great songs that have yet to see the light of day. I've got Terry and we continue to write stuff all the time. So
Yeah.
you know, and
Bring it out. We're looking forward to it. Well, so, but thank you so much. I want to thank you for your time today, Derek. We really appreciate it. And
oh,
thank you
you
for
are
taking the
most
time to talk with the North Jersey Blues Society today. And the new record's called Hello Mojo. It's on Cat Food Records, and it's. I urge everybody to pick it up because it's incredible, and you'll never hear the same music twice as you play it, and there's something for everybody on it. So it's
and
quite an achievement.
the record is available on all the platforms, Apple Music, Amazon, or you can go right to my website, derrickprocellmusic.com. And you can get a signed physical copy of the CD that way, or you can do a download. Uh, and we just got new Hello Mojo merch.
Oh, cool!
the
I have to
merch
check
the
that. I
merch
got to check
store
that
is
out.
open.
The merch store is open.
The merch store is open. In fact, when we're done here, I will send you those two versions of "I Will Be Your Leather," and I will also send you a special promo code for the merch store.
Oh,
You know,
thank you. I
special for
appreciate
friend, family, and friends.
family and friends. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. But thank you. I really North Jersey Blues Society thanks you so much for your time, and we
Thank you,
thank you,
North Jersey Blues Society.
and we wish you the best throughout the new year 2023. And please keep in touch because it's always a pleasure to hear from you and talk to you.
Thank you, John.
No,